Hello everyone, it's Lifesaver back with another video. It's probably been a couple of years. I took a break from the game. Life got busy. But I came back, started playing druid. I love with my guy, I think a couple of days ago on Monday. I'm not very geared. 619 item level. I've already timed a couple of 12s. I even hit 13 yesterday. HPS is great. Druids are strong. No matter what anyone says that they're B tier, C tier, they just don't use the kit properly. So I wanted to make another video here explaining what's changed in the War Within, how to get the maximum healing output of your class, talents, your stat priority, all that fun stuff to help you heal keys efficiently and how to play the game correctly. So without further ado, I'm going to explain basically what we're doing here. So first go stat priority. Nothing's changed from all the other expansions. Haste is priority. It makes you able to cast your hots faster, which is very important, and it makes your hots tick faster, which gives you more HPS. Haste is always king, then followed by Mastery and Verse. Verse is nice because it makes it a little more tankier. Mastery is nice because every hot application on an individual increases their amount healed from everything, not just hots. For example, here it says 10% more, mine's 11%. I say you want at least 10%. So every time you have a hot on someone, tell yourself that's 10% more healing that they're receiving. Now, unlike other healers, we're not shamans, we don't have Link, we don't have that instant clap button that's going to top everyone in the world. I mean, we kind of have Convoke, I guess, but just strong. It's a little bit of RNG, but for the most part, it's still very strong. But we don't have those crazy group save buttons. We're not a cooldown dependent class. We are, however, a prep class, which is why I still think to this day Resto requires the most IQ when playing, especially in a Mythic Plus environment. The reason for this is you have to prep for damage. If you don't have hots rolling before damage comes out, your group will die and you will get flamed. This has never changed and it probably never will. That's the class fantasy. You heal mostly from your healing overtime effects. And now this expansion, Regrowth, has a little bit more value. It's healing for a lot more as well, but we'll get into that later. First, let's go into talent. I'm going to slowly go over everything so you guys see. There's 2 hero talents now, which have been introduced with the War Within. Keeper of the Grove and the Wild Stalker. I love Wild Stalker. I invented kitty weaving like 12, 15 years ago. I really loved it. I mean, at least I think I invented it. I don't know anyone else. I used to do it back then. I called it kitty cleaving, but now I think it's called cat weaving or something. But anyways, it's a lot of fun. You apply an extra hot. You apply an extra bleed, which balances the symbiosis. It's really cool. A great build. However, DPS and keys are very minimal now with healers, which breaks my heart because one of my favorite things to do as a healer in keys is to pump damage while keeping the group alive and to sustain the output. So now, because my gear is super low, I mean, a lot of keys I've healed. I think I healed my first 10 at like 586 item level or something. I literally bought the gear from that new island, went into a 10-hour car, and we smashed it. But because the gear locking, I need to be a little more safer, which I would say Keeper of the Grove is safer. Specifically, yeah, you have your extra healing, your groves become really strong, increase your healing output, but this is a talent that is super strong to me, because druids, at least in the past, always struggle with damage reduction, and every time regrowth is on you, which will be basically 90% of the time, you get an 8% DR, which is absolutely massive, especially now with my gear being shorter as it is, but as you get into higher keys, DR is king, and druids have a little bit lacking in that department, at least before. Your other big DRs, I would say, is your Iron Bark, which you can apply to someone else, also to yourself, but you can save someone else. It's also not on the global cooldown, your Iron Bark, so I can still do this. I can rejuve and Iron Bark at the same time, so make sure it's on a keybind that can be clicked with all your other buttons. I have it as a mouse button. Do whatever you like with that. And then your other big DRs for yourself, Bark Skin, and they actually buffed it, which is amazing. It used to be a 20% DR. Now your Bark Skin is a 30% DR. So with this and a regrowth on you, you're looking at 38% DR. Almost 40% on a 1 minute cooldown. Now you're really tanky. Druids are really tanky. We used to never have this type of DR. And if you don't have skin, you at least have an 8% DR applied all the time. Now, how do we apply this DR? Well, you need rampant, you need your regrowth, but are you casting it all the time? What are you doing? How are we healing? How are we dealing with big damage incoming outputs? Let's break it all down for you. First, I'm going to go over all your main spells. Life Bloom. It is your strongest and biggest hot. And it gets stronger over every tick due to a talent that we run here. And then once it gets to around 4 seconds here, 5 seconds, it turns red is my add-on, but you can also see it over here. You can have a timer. It applies a bloom, but you can reapply it before it expires. So when Life Bloom expires, it applies a nice big heal. However, if you don't want to wait, damage is coming out, someone needs to get healed, I can apply it right now, and it applies an early bloom. I have like a 4 or 5 second window where I can pandemic, it's called. You can do it with other hots as well. Life Bloom's more specific because you can use it here. I can pandemic here, it's glowing red. Boom. Beautiful. And it just reapplies it. Anyways, that's how the pin is. So Life Bloom's your biggest heal. It applies a mastery stack of 3. Now what does that mean? So your one mastery stack, any hot you apply, I'll just say 10% instead of 11 to make it easier, makes your healing increase by 10%. So when you have a mastery life of Life Bloom, now you have 3 stacks, you get a 30% increase to healing. It counts as 3 hots in someone. Then how else do we apply healing to the group? Spring Blossom. This was Effervescence, this talent. It's not a strong healing, it's actually horrendous healing, but applies you and up to 3 people a hot. 10% more healing. That's why you apply this talent. That's why you use Effervescence. It's not because it heals a lot, but because Spring Blossom applies a hot. And we all love hots. So everyone gets this hot when you're in the group, another 10% healing. So think of this as a 10% healing to everyone. Sort of like rain, if you think it was Shaman. Always being around it for AoE. Drop it as much as you can. It's just free healing for everyone. So you have your Life Bloom on yourself. You have 2 charges, photosynthesis. So you'll always have Life Bloom on yourself. Don't listen to what anyone else says. It's amazing. And because of photosynthesis, now your Life Bloom, when it's on yourself, makes all your hots tick 10% faster, which is very strong because you're also running with, is it this talent here? Yes, Liveliness, which makes them tick even 5% faster. So with this on yourself and this talent here, your hots are ticking 15% faster. That's a lot of free HPS. Keep your Life Bloom on yourself. Also, you need to not die. So applying your biggest hot on yourself is super priority. Now, a lot of videos, which I see online, always say put the other Life Bloom on your tank. This is not the play. Unless you're obviously dealing in a pack where there's no AoE damage, of course, on yourself and on the tank. Makes sense. Anytime AoE damage is coming out to your group, you're taking Life Bloom off of your tank. He doesn't need it. He heals himself. All the other HPS is coming through your passive healing and all your other hots that are coming out. He doesn't need it. Who needs it? Squishy Shaman in your group. One of your DPS that don't have a DR up. That's who needs it. So your Life Bloom will be on yourself and on the other person who needs it. You have 2 Life Blooms out. So how do we heal? We have a countdown, usually about 5-6 seconds before an AoE mechanic is supposed to go out. We have to start prepping. So first thing I would do is make sure I have Life Bloom on myself. Then I'll apply Life Bloom on another target. There's 2 Life Blooms. My buddy's too far away, so I can't select them. But there'll be 2 Life Blooms on each other. Then you're going to regrowth a 3rd person and Cenarian ward the 4th person. You don't need to regrowth yourself. Why is this the case? Because of this talent, Rampant Growth. Regrowth is applied to whoever has Life Bloom. So you Life Bloom yourself, the squishy DPS in your group, and then you apply the hot of regrowth onto someone else, which applies regrowth instantly to yourself and your squishy person. So this one button now applies 3 hots. Crazy. And now that's 10% more healing for all of them, and you get your DR. So you go, let's say like a countdown. Life Bloom, regrowth the other person, Cenarian Ward, this is your biggest hot outside of Life Bloom. It's massive, and you can reapply it. You can apply it before damage comes out, because it doesn't start ticking for 8 seconds until the damage is hit. So you can do this like almost on cooldown. Just apply it when you know damage is going out. Even if it's in like 20 seconds from now, you just throw the shield on them and you know there's no damage coming out, but it's already set. The cooldown starts getting refreshed, and they'll start ticking right now, and then you almost have it up again. You can also use Swiftman to extend the duration of this hot, which is really nice to do, especially more so that's when your healing is on the tank. They'll have a Life Bloom, Rejuvenation, Cenarian Ward. It'll look like this. I'll apply it to myself. Boom. Now you're all juiced up. Then you kind of hit Swiftman, which will make Scenario Ward, instead of lasting 8 seconds, last like 15 seconds. It's crazy. And then you do the fat regrowth. So we'll go into that as well, actually, with Swiftman. Swiftman, when you use it, it used to consume one of the hots on your target to apply an instant small, decent medium-sized heal. Now, instead of consuming the hot, it extends all the hots on the person. I think it's by a few seconds here. Let me see here. I think it's like 8 or 9 seconds. Anyways, so what you want to do now is you have like this Scenario Ward regrowth, and then you're going to Swiftman on the tank, and he's juiced. Whenever I'm in a key and I say that the tank is juiced, he has like 18 seconds of hots rolling on him. I don't have to think about it. He's got everything on him in the world. He's got Spring Blossoms out, like he's got 6-7 hots with Mastery Stack 9 hots. They're fine. But that's how you heal your tank. But in an 8-week situation, I got a little carried away. You life bloom yourself, the weak DPS, then you regrowth another third person, and Scenario Ward the fourth. And then the damage starts ticking. You Swiftman. I usually like to Swiftman myself, especially right now because my gear is awful. Swiftman Barkskin, and then you use the Growth Tending. The reason you want Growth Tending before you Wild Growth is because it increases the healing output of all your healing by having this little man out. Not only is he casting heals and doing this thing, your HP output gets increased. So you'd Swiftman, apply one of your trees, and then you do your Wild Growth. And it makes your Wild Growth even stronger, which is your biggest AoE heal. And then you will probably regrowth 2 to 3 times. So think of like City, for example. 6 seconds of pulsing damage on the third boss. One of the biggest healing checks probably in all of the War thing currently. How do you heal this as a restoration druid? You go Life Bloom yourself, Life Bloom the squishy DPS, regrowth one of the other DPS to apply regrowth on yourself and the squishy DPS, and then Scenario Ward the other guy who's the other DPS. And if you have still 1 second before the pulse starts, I would throw a Rejuve on the tank or yourself. Then the damage starts going out. Everyone starts freaking out. You Swiftman yourself or the person with Scenario Ward. So the damage ticks. You Swiftman one guy, they get full healthy. Then you start applying the fat Wild Growth. That's going to heal everyone. What's cool about running Keeper is after you Wild Growth, I think it's this talent. Where is it? Here. After you Swiftman, and then you cast Wild Growth, your haste is increased by 10% for 6 seconds, which is crazy, especially with my lack of gear right now. So you're going to have, look at this, 43% haste I just went up to, from 30. 43 from 30. It's supposed to be 10%, but it's applying the extra haste that you get from your talent. So 13%. So this makes it a massive quick heals, your regrowths. Look how fast these casts. You get a big extra time. Look at this. Boop. Boop. They're 1 second casts. Crazy. So the way I would do that is when the damage starts pulsing, you Swiftman either yourself to extend all your hots, you don't have to think about it, with Barkskin of course on yourself. Or you Swiftman someone else, because Barkskin is very strong now, you don't really need it on yourself. You Wild Growth to apply the biggest hot on your AoE party, and I would spam 3 regrowths. 1 on the DPS, 1 on the next DPS, 1 on yourself, and then Daddy Convoke comes out for 3 seconds. That's 6 seconds of pulsing damage where you gain the most output, and while you're convoking, you should have I can make a macro basically that uses Nature Swiftness with Convoke. A lot of people don't know about this, but when you Convoke with NS up, it makes all your regrowths 100% stronger. Normally they should be consumed by your first regrowth, but because you're Convoking, it doesn't even trigger the NS. It doesn't consume it. So they're both limited cooldown, they line up perfectly. So you Convoke with your NS Convoke, and every time it casts regrowth during the 9 and 12 spells that it casts, they're 100% stronger. And that next patch is going to make it so NS makes it 200% stronger, which is, you're going to be like topping people every time. Like it's actually I think too strong, but I'm not going to argue about it. We'll see what Blizzard's thinking. But anyways, you're 100% strong on your regrowths, and if you turn your back while you're Convoking, so say this is the boss, you don't want to cast Convoke and sit. You want to turn. So when you turn like this, one of the spells you can cast is Wrath, which you don't want to be doing, obviously. You're trying to heal. If you're behind the enemy, it's physically impossible to cast Wrath because you're not in line of sight. There's no enemies over here. So it removes the chance of getting one bad spell. Now I think you only get like Thrash and Moonfire, the two spells you don't want. 30% removal of bad spells just by turning your character when you're convoking. So keep that in mind whenever you use convoke. If you're using from a healer, convoke and then just quickly turn yourself away from the enemies. Makes life a little bit better. But yeah, that's your biggest healing check. How to handle it in City. Light Bloom yourself, Light Bloom the squishy. Boom, boom. Regrowth the third person, Cenarian Ward the fourth person. You and the squishy have regrowth now. Swift Bend yourself into a fat wild growth. Regrowth each DPS, 1, 2, 3, and then convoke. It's on cooldown. And that's it. You'll 100% heal City every time with that DPS. You cannot output anymore. Of course, you want 1 or 2 trees out. Another thing about Grove Tendings, actually, I don't know if a lot of people know this for the Grove Guardians. It's not on the global cooldown, right? So you can be doing this while you're casting. Well, not while you're casting, but like while you're on the GCD. So another thing you can do is you don't have to be in caster form. I don't know why people don't mention this. So when you go bear form, right, to soak something, right, you get a lot more HP. My HP pool is very tiny. It's 5.4 million. When I was first feeling like my 10 on Monday, when I first dinged, I had like 4.1 million HP. So it was very scary, even on a 10 when you have that low gear. I was like 580 item level. But if you go bear form, you're getting 35% more health. Now I become a normal person, even with 100 gear. So every time there's impact, you go bear form, but obviously you can't heal in bear form, so what do while you're waiting on impact? You use a Grove Guardian, because you can use it well in bear form. A lot of people don't know this. So big AoE damage is coming out, you're freaking out, you go bear form, you hit a Grove Guardian, they're healing, the damage comes out, and you start coming out and healing again. Another thing from my older videos, I think most people remember, but don't shift out to heal again, like this. Don't do that. Don't click bear form and like, oh, I need to get out of bear form. I need to click bear again and then start healing. No, you don't need to do that. Because once you start healing, for example, I'm going to start healing regrowth, it just automatically takes you out of bear form. You don't need to shift in and out. You just shift and you start clicking your healing button right away. Don't do the double. It's very bad. Saves you a global every time. Yeah, that's about it. I say so, the important thing about bear form too, I think a lot of people don't realize is how strong it is. You're gaining 35% more health, but also because of this talent that you always run, it lasts for 4 seconds now, and it stays on you even outside of bear form. So a lot of times, because I'm so squishy right now in my gear and even higher keys, how you're going to be doing this, you're going to bear form before impact damage, and even if it's just like a pulsing situation, whereas like it's not going to be just one big damage, it's still worth it to bear first and then come out. Because look at the difference in my health pool. I'm gaining still almost 1 million HP. I still gained 15% more health even in my base form. Obviously in bear form it's stronger, but you can do that right before AoE damage comes out, and you have 3 seconds basically where you have a bigger health pool, which is almost the equivalent to the old Battle Master trinkets when you used to PvP. 50% more health. I think it used to be 20% back then, but for the first few ticks of AoE damage, again, it's like free. It's a free, almost like mini wall you can have. So always keep this in mind. Bear form is your friend. People almost never utilize one of the best abilities Druid has and keys, and the biggest defensive kit you have. You're about to get cast on, you go bear form if you don't have kick. If you're about to have a big AoE boss hit, you bear form, take the hit, and come out and heal. Or you bear form, use a Grove Guardian, so it starts healing while you're waiting, damage impacts, and you come out and start healing. Very strong. Use bear form, please. Use it in your kit. And now you know. Druids aren't as squishy as they seem. I'm healing 11, 12, what do I have? I think I healed a 13 the other day too. And I have no gear whatsoever. I have 619 now. I think when I healed the majority of my keys, I was 600 item levels or less. I was doing these keys here. City wasn't too bad either, but yeah, overall it was good. So as I'm getting more gear, we'll have some more fun content. Hope you enjoyed the video. Learn a little bit how to get the most HPS checks, how to heal the most dangerous dungeons like City on the third boss, and just always maintaining light bloom on yourself, and light bloom on the squishy, an AoE setting, and a tank where only the tank is damaged, light bloom on yourself, light bloom on your tank. Other than that, it's just maintaining HOS, keeping the damage out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was nice to come back here and share some of my knowledge. Hope it helps some of you Resto druids there. They don't listen to the meta chasers. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just saying what they see people playing. Druid has a very high skill ceiling. That's why it's very difficult to tune, because if you play the kit very well and they make it too strong, the people who play it really well are going to be smashing the highest keys by a large margin. So they have to tailor it to if you're playing it at max efficiency, which is why a lot of people who play the class and don't use the toolkit properly, Druid always get portrayed as being undertuned. It's not. It's an amazing class. It always will be, especially in the Mythic class, and obviously in PvP it's fun too, but that's a different video. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Here's Lifesaver. Peace out.